And we're back again for the third time, our third questions and answers part of the afternoon. Hope you've enjoyed part 2 of the Webfest. To be honest, putting that one together, seeing it come together with all the bands, it's been absolutely brilliant. We've got some fantastic stuff coming up later on in parts 3 and 4, which will come, part 3 coming up straight after we're finished with these questions and answers. So if we can get going as quick as we can, I would like to bring in Steve Holm, who looks after the arena, Lee Lamb, who does stage and tech, the Merchant, who does Christmas, Karina, who looks after some of the social media and helps out with hospitality, Jenny, who does PR and marketing, and Louise, who is the hospitality queen and keeps the finances tighter than a duck's backside. How's everybody doing? All right?
Really good.
Great, brilliant, thank you.
Right, Andy Toombs, he's got another giveaway to do. I mean, he's on fire this afternoon for those short arms and deep pockets, so take it away.
Okay, third giveaway of the day is the third bundle that we've got for sale as from November the 1st, and this one's a nice little bundle. It's my favourite. It's a promo bundle, and it contains 10 items. Some of them I'll show you now. It's got a Stoneddead koozie, 56mm pin badge. It's got a logo fridge magnet. There you go. And it's got a car sticker in there as well. These will be on sale individually, the car stickers. Anyway, there are 10 items in there. Those are just 4 of them. I'm going to post the question on the Facebook group again. And the question is, at Stoneddead 2018, if you visited the merchandise tent and purchased 2 event t-shirts, 1 fridge magnet, a packet of 4 pin badges, and a program, how much would you have paid? Put your answer in the comments below the thread that I'm just about to post, and all the correct answers will go into a live draw, which will be announced shortly after 8:40 this evening. So I'm posting the question now. Good luck.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We'll get cracking. Hello. We'll get cracking with the first question, which has come in from. We got it. John Crawford. If the festival wasn't at Newark, where would you have it? I don't know. I mean, with that one, it's Newark is quite central to the majority of the country because it's East Midlands. But I mean, Louise, we did sort of like mention it about being at the castle at the start, didn't we? We did sort of like say, oh, we'll try and have it at Donington, and it just didn't quite sit right, did it?
To download, you know, Monsters Rock. So yeah, it wasn't. But we wanted to keep it in the Midlands area, obviously, as you said, for the basically the central. So not everybody, you know, not everybody's got to get to London or everybody's got to get up north. Everybody's sort of got a fairly good shot of getting to the Midlands. But as for where else we'd have it, in the Midlands probably somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, if we go to Jenny, just bringing. I mean, you live down south, and in terms of accessibility, Newark, although it is a bit of a trek, it is quite straightforward to get to for you.
It is really straightforward. And to be fair, I've been quite flippant. I was going to say my back garden, but that's only because I really, really, really don't want to do as many steps as I did in 2018. My feet on the Saturday, literally, they were burning. So, but flippantly, I'd say my back garden. How I said that, though, I come up from Surrey and Guildford, and it's really easy. It's like 3 hours, 2.5 hours, depending on how bad the traffic is. We've done it in a motorhome. We've done it in a car. It's so easy to get to, and there's loads of accommodation around. You can camp on site as well. I have to say, you know, Donington is my spiritual home of rock and metal, but actually Newark is now my new home of rock. And I really would love to one day see on the roundabout outside the Newark showground that it says her spiritual rock of home of Stoneddead. I think that'd be absolutely amazing.
I think, what about Leland? What do you think of Newark and accessibility for us northern lads?
I don't think it's too bad, to be honest. It's only, what, 3 hours drive tops, you know, so, you know, as you know, I go all over the place doing these things, so that's nothing really. So I couldn't really think of anywhere better, well, other than somewhere like Barbados, obviously, but anywhere in the country, it's the most central place to be, really. I mean, yeah, the same as Jenny. It'd be great if it was on your doorstep, but 2.5 hours drive, it's nothing really, is it?
Yeah, definitely. It's just down the A1, straight down the road for us, so that's good. What about Steve Home?
Yeah, what can you say? Same as everyone else. Where it is now is perfect, fairly central for everyone, unless you're up in the north of Scotland, of course. But venue-wise, what we've got at the showground's absolutely amazing. The only thing I could think of that isn't Donington area would be Milton Keynes Ball, but then you're heading down south, so that's perfect where it is for me.
Karina?
Personally, for me, because of where we live, it's ideal because we're pretty much in the centre of the country anyway, so it's easy for us to get to regardless. But obviously, being the home of heavy metal, ideally it'd be Donington, but we know that's never going to happen. So Newark's ideal, and for the size of it, and it's so flat, it's perfect. For me, it's perfect anyway.
If we bring the merchant in, because he gets about a bit, he goes around the block more than once a week.
Well, the only thing I'd like to say is that I go to about a dozen festivals every year, and Newark is just one of the best festival sites that there is. Steelhouse is on top of a mountain. Don't get me wrong, I love Steelhouse. Bloodstock is far too open for us and not got the facilities without bringing them in. Newark's perfect. We've got the hard standing, we've got the for the car parking, we've got the short distances, we've got the buildings there for the indoor show and for the HQ. I couldn't think of anywhere else I'd rather have it, to be honest. I hope we always stay there.
Yeah, it's accessible for everybody. It's on the East Coast Main Line, A1. There's airports nearby. It's just an ideal location, really. In terms of where we could have had it elsewhere, it would have had to have been in the Midlands just for accessibility for everyone else. Like, I don't know if we could have found a patch of land near Nottingham or something. I don't know, but Newark's just ticking all the boxes. So, yeah, definitely. Question 2 is from Minnie Carr, Tracy Carr's daughter. Do you cater for a more classic rock demographic based on age rather than tempting youngsters in who prefer harder sounds? Oh, well, Minnie Carr, Tracy's daughter, I can tell you that although we are a classic rock festival, we are sitting in between, I would say, Bloodstock and Steelhouse in what we do. We've had some heavier bands, the likes of Anvil, who, you know, like to tune it down a bit. And the bands who are in the opening poll as well, there's been some pretty heavy bands there. But in terms of bands we've actually looked at in the past, we have inquired about things like Megadeth, Testament, Exodus, Anthrax, Nuclear Assault, like classic thrash bands. And then we've also looked at heavier newer bands as well. So it's not, although we are a classic rock festival, there will be points where we do kind of like slightly take a slip road off to blues or something which is a bit more different to what you would expect at a classic rock festival. Because, as I say, we are more kind of in between where Steelhouse and Bloodstock are. Louise, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, my first thought was the Anthrax reference, really, because I personally am a very big fan of Anthrax. So it's, you know, it would have been a dream booking, but they are now fastly, like the likes of Testament and Anthrax, are now being seen in a classic rock light. Although it's harder sound, it's still, you know, it's because they've got the years behind them. and they're not as harsh as some of the newer sort of thrash bands that are coming out. So yeah, we try to keep it quite diverse, and certainly going forward, we've, like you said, we've listened to some blues, some like southern, rock as well. So they certainly we try to sort of spice it up without going too far from the grain.
I basically think that it's more about all. You're so funny. It's all about rock is the family. It's like the genre of music itself, and so classically, I listen to quite a lot of different bits and pieces of rock. And what I'd like to say is that actually, if I had my absolute way, I'd go kind of Anthrax, Metallica, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, and newer bands and Volbeat and Buck Cherry and all sorts of bands like that. And so I think that give us time. We're only in our second, maybe trying in obviously COVID specific third year, and there's lots of bands out there that can actually fit the genre of Stoneddead, because we are one family together, and everybody appreciates the fact that majority of people like a wider variety of music. I don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into anything in particular, and so give us a bit of a chance. And those or lots of other bands who prefer harder sounds and more classic and southern will come in. I've no doubt at all.
Yeah, I agree with what Jenny's just said. Third year in, we're finding our feet. We're trying to appeal to as wide an audience as we can. We'll see what's happening. We do tend towards the NWOCR scene, I suppose, but there's lots of upcoming bands that are a bit harder, a bit heavier in there. So new bands coming through. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get some harder ones along the way.
Yeah, I'm the old school. So I was brought up. My first band I ever went to see was Slayer, and I love thrash. I've been the Creator and Anthrax, Metallica, loads of bands. But if you look at what we're putting on as well, you've got new stuff coming through as well. Like this year and coming next year, we've got Heat. Now I'm a big fan of Heat as well. So I think we try and get a good mixture of not just classic, because Heat at the moment are riding high. So I'm happy to whatever goes on, to be honest. But yeah, I do like the old school thrash. I'd like to see, if we did get Anthrax, someone like that, that'd be top notch.
What about you, Karina?
I'm always up for the classic rock lineup. I've always been a big classic rock fan, but on the same score, like some of the others, I would love to see the likes of Megadeth, Metallica, Anthrax, someone like that would be absolutely amazing. And I think it would bring a lot of the younger fans into it. But I think for the way we are, I think we do a really good mix for the classic, the blues, the younger stuff. So I think it's quite a good mix that we actually have already.
Yeah, definitely. And last but not least, the Merchant, the Santa of Stoneddead.
I was just wondering what Minnie meant by harder sounds. I mean, we're talking about thrashers is about as hard as we're going to get, I think. I don't think we're ever going to go down the road of having death metal and black metal and stuff like that there. But Stoneddead is sort of founded and based on our generation's music. So personally, if I'm brutally honest, it's not there to entice the younger audience in. It's to fulfill our dreams and fantasies and have the music that we like to listen to, rather than we don't go out of our way to tempt younger people in. So we wouldn't get as hard as black and death metal and things like that, I don't think.
Yeah, I think, although I would like to diversify into a bit more thrash if the opportunity came up. I mean, I love Amon Amarth, Children of Bodom, Hypocrisy and stuff like that. Mayhem, black metal, death metal and stuff you get in a lot of European festivals. But it's just not what we are out to do, I don't think. In my opinion, anyway, we're going to let Bloodstock do that, because Bloodstock have been doing that from pretty much day one, and they do it really, really well. So we'll let them do what they do, and then we'll focus on keeping our little dream going and fantasies going and trying to recreate what would have been the Monsters of Rock. Next question. Let's have a look where we're at. All right. Do you have a realistic aspiration that could make Stoneddead Festival even better than it currently is in the future? From Jason Everett. Oh, Steve Home, you can do that one.
Good question. For me, I'd like to see it get bigger than it is. Obviously, grow 5,000-7,000 would be wonderful. Iron Maiden headlining, that'd be pretty awesome. But what we've got to do is grow, as been said in earlier sessions. We've got to grow slowly but surely.
Yeah. Karina?
Pretty much the same as what Steve's just said. You know, we've got to give ourselves time to grow. You know, we're still relatively new festival. We're still establishing ourselves, getting ourselves on our feet, getting our name out there. So at the moment, I think if we just need to sort of carry on as we are, and eventually we will get to that stage where we could end up with, you know, 5, 7, possibly 10,000 people. But we don't want to get there too quickly. We want to just take it nice and steady.
Jenny?
Well, I actually think that what would be a really great idea would be the pint pots that Toomsy mentioned earlier. I just love that idea. I've loved it for the last 2 years. I'd really like to have just a simple one where we could have a pint pot available. You could have it at home, use it at home. You could also be at other festivals, and it'd be like a secret mini Stoneddead looky thing. I think that would be something I think would make a really instant effect on Stoneddead and make it even better than it currently is.
Excellent. I think Leland next.
Yeah, I think me personally, it's the same with everyone. We've got to grow naturally, and no disrespect to anybody else. I do this for a living, so I understand what it takes. So with all the guys, everybody's still learning as well. So we can't go rushing ahead, making it as huge as possible, because we have to learn and get it right. Because that's why we've been so successful as we are, because we've took our time and listened to the fans, listened to everybody's opinions, and try to make it right. So ultimately, yeah, it wants 10,000 would be great, but you know, 2 or 3 years, give it time, and just slowly, gradually build it like we've done already.
Louise?
Yeah, this is a very realistic aspiration, actually. Is actually feedback from the Stoneddead crowd, just to see where they see perhaps where we could better things. So if we are constantly listening to what our crowd are wanting, okay, we might not be able to fulfill everything, but it means we can improve to make it a better experience for the customer. Yeah.
And then last but not least, Santa Claus.
Last after everybody else has had to go. Can we have everybody exactly the same size, please? So a wide range of t-shirts. I can just order one and then just work on numbers instead of worrying about how many different sizes I've got.
Well, all you do is you just get large mediums. Just get everyone's a large medium.
Large mediums, yeah.
Oh dear. Right. Excellent. Next question, and this one is: how do you go about sorting the bar and food vendors so we get some good variety? From Simon Hargett. Oh, this one's definitely a Stevie Home one. There we go, Steve.
Yeah, well, we get in touch with many vendors every year. As personally, I'm Stoneddead Group. We're part of many vendors' pages on Facebook and other areas. We vet every vendor. We have a really good relationship with the vendors that we've had in the past, and we trust them. We like them. We rely on feedback of the punters every year. If they have an issue with a vendor, then that's something we have to look at. But a big drive for us is keeping prices down to a minimum. We want to make this a cheap, affordable festival for everyone. So a lot of the time we have to exclude vendors who aren't willing to discount their prices into our pricing structure. Yeah, so it's a lot of communication, a lot of getting ourselves out there, talking to vendors that are around. We're hitting the stage now where vendors are quite a lot of vendors are approaching us every year wanting pitches. So it will get better and better and better, and we will have more and more choices. This year's been quite hard. Some of our well-loved vendors from the last 2 years have gone under due to the stupid virus situation. But we will get better for next year.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, that's just the one which we'll leave for Steve, because that's his area. So we'll move on to the next one, which is, how many fights do you have over which bands you most want to book and who usually wins? From Dave Jolly. Well, Dave, it's a democracy, but there's a little person who books the bands and he gets it final. So, no, to be honest, the way it tends to work is, like the way it's been working the last 18 months is, we do get bands coming in and asking if they can play, and then we'll formulate a list of who's available, what the prices are, and then we'll have a discussion of who we think is going to be a good fit, and then go with that. And normally you'll get, I don't know, a couple of standouts which you can book, which you can slot in straight away, and then see which bands are available. We're going to make the lineup a bit more diverse. But as I say, we've all got different tastes and different things we like. So that's why the lineup itself gets to be quite, I don't know, a broad spectrum of rock. I mean, Louise, you can definitely come in on that one.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's down to sort of Chris will come to us with some suggestions. He's like, been approached by this band, I'm thinking about this band. We then sort of, threw a few ideas about. We think what will be a good fit, but at the end of the day, it's Chris is doing the negotiating. So I hate to pass the buck, Chris, but it falls at your feet, really. But yeah, it can be a huge, diverse spectrum of bands that we actually look at. But it's the logistics of what they're doing, what tour cycles they're on, all the rest of it. There's a whole lot of things that go into the mix. But as far as fighting, I would say it's more heated discussions.
Yeah, definitely. We'll just move on to the next one, just so we can kind of get through the questions and include everybody as best we can. Right, this one. If you had a time machine, which part of Stoneddead would you go back to? From Donna Carr. So I'm guessing that's what your favourite memory is, and we'll go straight in for Jenny.
Well, I've got two. So my 2018 memory is interviewing Scotty Hill from Skid Row. Having seen them at Donington, just had a chat backstage back then, and then actually meeting him again in person was just absolutely phenomenal. Something I'm not going to ever forget. And there's Facebook and YouTube evidence, so that's kind of can't forget it anyway. And then my 2019 was Diamond Head and My Evil. Just listening to that song on our stage, it's such an seminal song to have such a massive effect on so many heavy metal bands that are currently active. Hats off, it was just phenomenal. The flyover, just amazing. Loved it. Really, really, those are my two.
Excellent. Karina?
I think my best memory going back to 2018 was just simply being stood at the side of the stage when Jenny Rayner stepped on that stage, welcomed everybody in, and just to turn around and see everybody clapping and shouting, and it was just that feeling of, we've actually done this. And I think my favourite memory from 2019, that's quite a hard one, but I think it was just silly little things like looking after the likes of Brad Marr, all his little shenanigans in the actual hospitality, and just having fun and games with him and chasing him around trying to hand him his beer all the time.
What were you doing, like trying catch a kiss?
Oh no. Yeah, I think he was trying to catch a kiss off everybody else.
Excellent. Toomsy?
I don't remember any of it. I was normally drunk. But maybe I'll go back and do it all again sober. No, I'm not. So, no, I think 5 to 11 on the first day on 2018. 5 to 11, just before the gates opened. And then when the gates opened and people started coming in into the arena, you know, knew it was on then. It was all starting. That was it. Loved it.
Yeah. Steve Horn?
I've got two, both from 2018, and somehow I went back to HQ and was given a load of cranberry juice and asked to take it up to the Skid Row suite. Walked in, dropped it on the table, and Rachel Boland sat on a sofa, says, "Hey man, fancy a beer?" and throws a bottle of Budweiser at me. That's quite cool. But I think the one that'll live with me forever, even when the dementia gets really bad, I'll be opening those gates up and those first punters walking in 2018. I tell you that I was an absolute mess when that happened. I mean, I'll never forget me and Neil Mamel standing in a quiet part of the field, sobbing on each other's shoulders.
Yeah, very good. Leland?
Well, if I go back, I mean, unfortunately, I don't get to see a lot from being backstage, so I don't get the full show from the side. So if I could go back, I'd like to go out the front and see Skid Row again. I mean, don't get us wrong, it's great being next to them on stage and stuff, but you don't get the atmosphere like what you do at the front. So if I had to go back, I'd go back and see Skid Row out front.
And then Louise, last one.
Mine's it's a perverse memory, really. We'd been on 2018. We'd been up to the more than wee hours of the morning, preparing all the dressing rooms and, you know, basically all the hospitality. We were there a lot longer than we thought, and it was probably about 3:30. Word came through that Skid Row, who were supposed to be arriving at 8 o'clock in the morning, were actually going to arrive at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So all the key holders and everything like that, everybody was fast asleep. And I just have this, I've got a picture evidence of it, actually. I'm sat outside the Cedric Ford Pavilion waiting for the tour bus to pull up, and knowing that pretty much my sort of late teen, early 20s heroes are sat inside this bus. And there was nobody with me. I had to wake Neil up to try and get keys. The keys were wrong. They had to open up and take the tour bus across the arena to get it backstage. That is my very lasting memory. It wasn't a good experience at the time, but it's very memorable now. 19 had to be Nathan James. We got wind that Nathan likes 80s party food, and numbers of our hospitality team took it upon themselves to create a 1980s party complete with a cheese and pineapple hedgehog, and he was absolutely thrilled to bits. The guy liked it so much, I think he did a video on Instagram, was it, Jenny, or something like that? Yeah. So yeah, that was other than the performances, they were the two sort of standout memories.
Very good. Yeah, I remember walking into the hospitality tent for Inglorious, and he was an excitable sort of 6'5" giant of a man, just like, oh, look at all this, and videoing, and I was like, okay, I'll leave you to it. I'll come back in 5 once you've kind of calmed down. I thought, actually, no, if I come back in 5, he'll possibly demolish it all, be on a sugar high, and then we might not get him back down. So I kind of stuck around, but no, he was genuinely sort of over the moon with that. So it's just little things like that which the hospitality team do, and it just gets the band sort of like in the zone to go on stage. And I think an example of that was when after Phil Campbell had come off stage, and he'd come back in, and he just sat back down in his little tent, and he was on his sofa. And I just walked in and said, "How did it go for you?" And he just like, he was sat like as if he'd done like a 5-mile marathon. He just looked at us, dry as sticks. And that was the best festival ever. And I thought, oh, he's been sarcastic. And I kind of like walked away, and I said, how was that? And like to his son, and his son said, yeah, that was really, really good. I said, Dad just said it was the best festival, but is it a bit sarcastic? No, it's just a bit dry. So Phil Campbell said that was like the best festival, like, you know, I think Jeff Tate was saying similar. Toby had said, it was one of his top 5s. So it's just amazing feedback we're getting from these established artists, these people who are playing on the biggest stages in the world, and they're coming to what's our dream, and then saying, you've made our day. This is one of the best gigs we've ever played. So that just kind of blows my mind. Anyway, let's get back to I think we've got 2 more questions left. Bear with me. Just get the next one is, regardless of being dead or alive, which act or particular lineup of an act would your dream Stoneddead headliner be? Right, we'll go around very quickly. Steve Home?
Iron Maiden. Let's get Maiden on. That's the aim.
Timsy?
Oh, anyone, AC/DC.
Oh, hang on. Is that with Bon O'Brien? Or Axel?
With Brian. I've only ever seen them with Brian.
Do you not want to see them with Bon?
I ever saw. I would like to see them with Bon. I never did.
So if I was Satan right now, and I said to you, Andrew Toombs, you have the opportunity to book AC/DC for Stoneddead 2022, but you can only have Bon O'Brien. But whoever you want is going to disappear into the depths of hell for eternity. Which one would it be?
I'll get back to you.
Hypothetically speaking, it's not going to happen, really.
Should we have one of those offline? I love Brian Johnson. He's brilliant.
But he's
I would take Bon Scott out of curiosity, see if he's as good as they said he was.
Right, excellent. Karina?
I'm afraid I'm with Tombsy. It's going to be AC/DC, but I will be straight up. It's got to be with Brian Johnson because he's a fellow Geordie.
But you're not a Geordie.
I am a Geordie.
All right, okay. I'll just pretend that you've lost your accent. Jenny?
Sorry, I'm too busy enjoying the discussion. So I'd go Anthrax, Volbeat, Metallica, Def Leppard, Iron Maiden, Thunder, Megadeth. Come on, Chris, you're the man.
No, Jesus Christ, oh, man. I know. This is supposed to be fun. Leland?
There's loads, but I'm the same with Maiden. It'd have to be Iron Maiden for me. Just the show they put on.
Would need a bigger stage.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'll build whatever you want if we can get Maiden on.
I'll help you.
Yes, you're never going to guess who I'd like headlining. China, thank you.
Very good, right. Last question, again, we'll go through very quickly. How important to you as organisers is it to promote new bands as part of the festival? From Richard Brindley. Now, before we go into that one, Richard Brindley's helped supply some of the bands like Bad Touch, Tequila Mockingbird, and Massive Wagons, and he's also been a massive help this week with some of the streaming issues we've had and connecting things up. So, big thank you to Richard. You're an absolute gem. I owe you many, many bingers. But in terms of new bands, Steve, Home, do you want to go for that one?
Well, what can I say? Look at the support that this festival gives to Unknown Refuge. You don't get a much newer band. Just released their first single. Lots of up-and-coming bands have played our stage so far in the 2 years that we've done it so far. And the intention of all of us, I'm sure, is that new bands will always feature in our lineup. Of course, we've got to support new bands or we'll run out of them.
Good. Timsy?
You keep come on. Now you've muted me again. There you go. Yeah, it's important to us to support new bands. We can maybe 1 or 2 a year, yes, but we've got to remember about selling tickets and having names up there and bands that people know and love already. But yeah, it's always important to get at least 1 or maybe 2 new bands in there each year.
Yeah. We'll go with Jenny next. Fresh from your audition with Steps.
Thank you. It's my work gear. So I think that actually we do really well with new wave of classic rock bands. To be fair, if we don't have new wave of classic rock bands snapping at the heels of the giants of rock and heavy metal, then they won't change and adapt to get even better. I think they're providing some fantastic music sound. What they're taking the music is really great. To get encouraged by the fact that you know they just excite us, and I just think it's something that it's just so important to promote new bands, because if we don't have new bands, then we aren't going to provide something for us to also listen to. And I really am flabbergasted by some of the talent that's out there at the moment. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah. Karina?
Basically the same as Jenny, because at the end of the day, we need, it's good to promote the new bands because it gets the names out there, gets them a good fan base. These new bands are the future of all, not just our festival, but all the festivals. They've got to get the name out there one way. And, if a festival like ours can promote them, then that's fantastic.
And Leland?
Yeah, I think you have to do it because it's so hard now. And if I go back to my recording days, how lucky we were when we got out there. Look at what it's like now. The bands, you don't sell CDs anymore. You don't sell albums. You need to get out there and tour. You've got to get on stage. So I'm totally up for any new bands coming to play for us. I love it because not many people get the opportunity to do that. If we could put more on, I'll be all for it. But obviously, like we said before, we've got to sell tickets. But yeah, if you don't get new bands, there's nothing to fill the gaps because they're not going to be around forever. So yeah, 100%.
And then Louise?
You've got to think that Deep Purple, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, all of the legendary bands that we have now were new once upon a time. Okay, the circumstances are different. The method in which people access their music are different, but it's still important for these new bands to come through because, as I say, they won't be around forever. It's like a rite of passage. They will go through, become from a small band to a medium band to a larger band, and if they isn't fed through at the bottom, the funnel effect, it won't come out at the top.
Yeah, totally, definitely. I mean, this is it. Every band starts out as a new band. You've only got to look at Massive Wagons. When we first booked Massive Wagons in 2017, they were, although they'd released, I think it was they were to the fourth album at the time with Full Nelson just coming out when they were playing for us. When we booked them in 2017, they were kind of like a very much a cult underground band, and now they're selling out 500, 600 capacity venues. The tour for next year is selling like hotcakes. And, I think they're going to be a future headliner for Stoneddead in the next couple of years, easy, because just the fan base to build up. What they do is fantastic, and it's the same with the likes of Those Damn Crows as well. A couple of years ago, they were just starting out, and now they've kind of catapulted themselves up to, getting onto the likes of Download, the higher up on the medium festivals. I would like to think a band like Massive would come back to Stoneddead, and headline. I think they would possibly blow up the stage and sort of just like kill everybody with adrenaline rushes and everything. And we would need sort of the biggest sort of medical team in the history of rock festivals to keep everybody okay. But yeah, new bands, they are coming through, and our opening poll is very much dedicated to them, as well as we're looking at that second off bottom slot to engage them and get them on the stage as well. So definitely we are very keen to engage and get new bands on. So thank you very much, Richard, for that question. That's it. Thank you very much, boys and girls. The next part of the Webfest Part 3 should be up now, so please click on it. Keep yourself hydrated, drink lots of beer, because that's what I'm going to be doing in about 5 minutes. And we'll see you at about 8:30, 20 to 9 with the results of some of our competitions with the classifieds with me and Andrew Toombs picking out some lucky winners. And I think you've got a mystery bonus prize if someone gets to snog truffle. Is that right, Toomsy?
Solo truss.
Right, excellent. So see you